What's up, everyone? We are here Google Next 26 in Vegas. We are in this very cool studio pod in the GDE and Certified Lounge. It's a good place to be.
Yeah, it's bumping.
Yeah, there's great people. There's coffee. There's power. And stone's throw in that direction, there's puppies.
That's all you need for a good Next right there.
Coffee and puppies.
Yeah, good combination.
It is a winning combination. So today I have two absolute legends of Google with me. We're going to be talking about all things Gemini CLI world from three kind of different perspectives.
Yep.
So we'll introduce ourselves to start with. I'll go first. My name is Darren Lester. I am a Google Cloud architect. I work for EPAM, and I'm also proud to be a member of the Google Developer Experts community, which comes with a number of perks, one of them being here at Vegas at Next, and being able to use this GDE dedicated creator studio. So I love Google Cloud and AI. I blog about it all the time, so if you haven't seen any of my content, check it out. I imagine there'll be some text here.
There's normally a Rick and Morty theme in a lot of it.
Yeah. There is, yeah. Rickbot for the win. So yeah, that's me. And then I will hand over to our first amazing legend, Jack Wotherspoon, who's just come from the keynote, the developer keynote. So that's a bit of a warm up for you for this, the main event, right?
Exactly. That was my practice for this interview here. Yeah, my name's Jack. I'm in DevRel for Google Cloud on the AI Dev Tools team, so it kind of covers all developer tools, but primarily focusing on Gemini CLI currently. Yeah, and I'll pass it over to, am I right? Romin, take it away.
Thanks. I'm Romin. I work as a developer advocate on the Google Cloud team, and I also manage the Google Cloud Medium publication, where I get a chance to read and learn from some of these folks, as well as many other great writers. So happy to be here. Thank you.
So if your blog never makes it on the Google Cloud Medium channel, you now know a face to blame.
I can't imagine anyone's reading more content than you, Romin. Although we know one person that we think might be reading more, don't we? Yeah. Okay, so we'll get into some Gemini CLI questions then. So, Jack, what is it like working on the Gemini CLI team? What's a day like for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll talk a little bit about the Gemini CLI team, and then I'll talk about kind of my day, because it's a little bit different. But some things people might not know is that the Gemini CLI kind of engineering team is actually split up into three sub-teams. So you have agent quality, which is focused on making the harness better. So they're the team that runs, daily evals. They're doing some hill climbing experiments to kind of see if they tweak certain things. How does that improve the actual kind of feel and accuracy of the harness? So that's one team that does a lot of cool work. The other team is the agent platform team. So they focus on kind of integrations, so ACP protocol, remote sub-agents with A2A. They work closely with a lot of other teams here at Google to kind of integrate Gemini CLI into Cloud Shell and things like that. And then you have kind of the larger team. The larger team is kind of the core team. They'll focus on, the feature requests kind of coming into the GitHub repo, a lot of that cool stuff, as well as the UI of the terminal. So make it feel kind of, how it renders, how it looks, all the dialogues you see when you run certain commands. And then there's also a bunch of other kind of like sub-teams that work on it, DevRel being one. There's also UX folks to make things kind of feel nice, look nice. But for me personally, I'm kind of in the mix as like a core maintainer on the team, moonlighting as kind of an engineer. But I kind of pester everybody so that when they're working on really cool features, I get to come in, get them to tell more about them, turn those into kind of stories that we can tell developers through launch blogs, as well as videos. We've done some courses, one deep learning.
I saw that. That's very cool.
Yeah, so gets to do a lot of cool things. So I like to be kind of plugged in with the product team, a lot of meetings with them, as well as like primarily part of my day is kind of hearing feedback from the community, from users, and then bringing that to the team to actually see how we can triage it, Same with internal folks. Sometimes Romin will ping me being like, hey, why is this not working? I'll go to the product team being like, can we prioritize this and get it fixed? So
but you're also getting a huge amount of contribution from the open source community as well, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of, I think we're north of 500 different contributors.
Wow.
I would say probably 100, 150 are probably Googlers. There are also people, we use Gemini CLI internally at Google. So when they have feature requests, a lot of the time, if it's something small, we'll say, hey, we'll put that in the backlog, but if you want to just go put up a pull request, you can. Some of them are really used to using Google 3, which are like internal monorepo. So sometimes there's a little bit of pushback being like, I don't know how to use GitHub because they're so used to Google tools.
That's interesting.
So yeah, it's a great community. There's lots of folks contributing, lots of feedback. So if you have it, bring it to us. We do listen and iterate. But yeah, that's kind of the day in the life. I think I'll flip it over to Romin. He's kind of doing tons of content. He's pretty plugged into agents. And we can also maybe take it a bit wider, not just Gemini CLI. What have you been seeing in kind of the agents world? You do a lot of stuff. You're putting out all kinds of new content. What do you see people using? Is it agent skills, MCP or not to MCP? That's sometimes a hot debate. Why don't you let us know what you're seeing kind of in the community or what trends are people using?
Yeah, so maybe I'll just step back a bit to a year and a half or so back approximately when we started to track more with everything becoming AI and people talking more about it. We started to track how much of content is related to AI versus non-AI stuff. And this includes across various Google Cloud services. And as of today, or let's say if I just look back into 2026, a few months that have gone by, we've got about 65 to 70% of the content that's AI, being discussed. And if I now start zooming into that, into developer tools, Gemini CLI, and so on, and skills, even from a general plus very specific, I think it probably looking at the number of articles we've published this year, this would go well into probably 25 to 30% just discussing these tools and very specifically skills, some MCP servers, debates, and so on. So it's definitely much more than what we expected people to do.
It's not like Google Cloud's a small platform and there's not much to talk about. And, despite the hundreds of Google Cloud services, it's all AI.
So I do track what is not talking about AI. So we track those, and that's probably now about 30 to 40%. Rest of the content is purely speaking something or the other about AI. Now coming specifically to, I would say Gemini CLI, I did some homework to just figure out how many articles are there, and I would probably put that number somewhere around 8 to 10%, which is I think a good number for the articles. Yeah, and this also includes now, or let me step back, the question which you asked about MCP servers to MCP or not. So of course there was a big upswing for MCP server usage, and then you got the whole discussion around whether it's skills and whether it's something else to be used. But yes, of late, agent skills all over the place.
I agree.
A lot of folks talking about it. At the same time, I think there's a huge opportunity because so many things happening at such a rapid pace. I think there's still a need for some people to slow it down and explain it better, but how it all fits in. So that's where the trend is going. But yeah, it's tremendous. It's great to see that.
I'll do a pop quiz for everyone here. So you have to choose your favorite MCP server and your favorite agent skill, or maybe an agent skill that you've created or something that you use in your day-to-day. Darren, take it away.
All right. I have written my own agent skill to help me create documentation.
Okay.
So I like to have a document for the architecture of the thing I'm building, and I like to have these days a document that is the design MD that I can throw into Stitch. I want my to-do. What else? I don't know, but a whole bunch of documentation that I always want to maintain. So I have a skill that will create that, will maintain that, and it has a whole bunch of reference and sample documents within that skill that I use, and and most of the time, every time I do any significant change, it will use that skill, and it will maintain my documentation for me. Because I'm a big believer that the documentation is not just for me now. It's because every change I want to make using an agent needs to know the context of what it's working on. So the documentation that it's creating is for my agents as well as for me.
Yeah. That's a good answer. I think for myself, MCP-wise, the developer knowledge platform one. Maybe I stole yours. That's why I
love that one. I love that one.
So for folks who don't know, the developer knowledge platform, MCP, essentially has all of the Google Cloud documentation. I believe this week too, it now has ADK as well as Go.
Yes, ADK.
So some of the frameworks, some of the programming languages coming out of Google. So you can connect to this MCP server, and then it's really great for if you're doing if you're working on code labs or doing different documentation where you want to even query Google Cloud Docs, pull in the latest, say, hey, how do I deploy to Cloud Run? How do I do this? It has all that information. So that's probably my favorite MCP at the moment. And then agent skills, I have one for doing blog drafts, which I was telling Darren, where I have a bunch of my past blogs as kind of reference material, the Google style guide that we have to use for our blogs as another kind of reference material, and then kind of some of how I like to write certain things that I do in my writing.
I've got a similar.
And it's pretty good. It probably gets about 60 to 70% of the way there, and then I have to kind of add some manual touch, but I think seeing agent skills, like anything that you do pretty regularly in a day-to-day task, folks should start to look at how you can turn those into skills. You can even do, and I think we have this in Gemini CLI launching soon, this new memory feature where it will actually go through your past Gemini CLI sessions and propose skills. So if it notices there's things that you're doing on a daily basis, it say, hey, we created this skill for you. Do you want to actually go ahead and create it?
And the new dilemma, do I create a skill or is it a sub-agent?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's park that one for now.
Sub-agents is like a tricky can of worms to open because it's sometimes beneficial, sometimes it's over doing it. But
So since you took my first choice, there's another interesting one that I just particularly like to see how it works more than its utility. That's the BigQuery MCP server.
Nice.
So when I just tell it, okay, I need to know maybe some kind of a business query, I just love to see how it goes about. Let me first get the tables, the schema. I know you may pull me up for token usage, but just to see it like, okay, it got the schema, it created the SQL, it got some information. It's just fun to see the whole thing come about. And in terms of skills, of late I've really liked the ones they've released under the ADK skills, a set of 6 of them, which I think almost surprised me that that's it, so not necessarily a favorite skills, but I think skills have finally shown me that they can do almost everything that I thought I could do.
You're skill pilled now, as they say.
Okay. So, Darren, I've got something to ask you. You're in a unique position where you're working with a lot of customers who are almost not just trying out things, but probably even in some other advanced phases of using out AI and related tools. So what's your experience? What have you seen? Anything that you'd like to share?
Working in enterprises is, I don't know, it's almost the opposite. You get to play with all the new stuff when you're coding on the weekend, but when you're in the enterprise, particularly with the clients I work with, which are highly regulated, like financial services, it's the adoption's quite slow. Everything takes a lot of approval. So it can be a bit of a challenge to get tools like Gemini CLI into the enterprise. But interestingly, EPAM, who I work for, they're really passionate about increasing the AI maturity and effectiveness of using AI with all of their clients. So one thing that they require now is with every client account, there has to be an AI champion that increases that client's maturity. And so in the project I'm currently working with the client, I'm that AI champion. And of course, one of the things I'm trying to do to increase their AI maturity is to bring in Gemini CLI to the whole team. So I want to get everyone using it. I want to show them good use cases. I'm training everyone in the team. And this, when I say everyone, I mean all of my colleagues from EPAM, but also all of the clients people. But it's not that easy because being a regulated client, they can't just go off the shelf and download Gemini CLI from GitHub. They have their own curated version in their own secure repo. And to be able to download from that repo, you have to be on an allow list. And to get on that allow list, you have to ask someone, a particular senior member of the client management.
Yeah.
And so I sent a list of people to a senior client manager, and they came back and said, okay, these people are approved, but why does a project manager need a tool called Gemini CLI? Why does a Scrum Master need a tool called Gemini CLI? And they reject my request. And so a lot of my role now is educating the client to say, a tool like Gemini CLI is for everyone. It's not just for software engineers. So now we've hooked it up to, it's all about the MCP again, right? So we've hooked it up to Jira and to Confluence. So now in our project team, someone can just say, hey, what key design decisions did we approve in the governance meeting yesterday? Or what Jira tickets have I got that are open for me in priority? Or, all of that kind of stuff. So we're creating those use cases. We're documenting them. We're demonstrating the usefulness. And then what I need to do is surface that to the senior team in the client to say, hey, look, we've proven it works now within our local environment, to help them adopt it across the whole organization. That's my goal. I want to get tools like Gemini CLI out to everyone, because I think it's a game changer no matter what your role is.
I think you brought up a good point, and the fact that it's not necessarily a tool just for developers. I think that was a distinction that in the naming from the beginning, in that it was Gemini CLI, not Gemini Code or things like that.
Okay.
So that it is, I think it's still work to be done there from our side. It's the terminal for people who are not developers can seem a bit daunting. They're like, why would I do something in here instead of the browser? But I think, like you said, it's a tool that you can connect to all of your services, make it the command line, and just start sending off, hey, can you check my emails? We've got the Google Workspace extension for Gemini CLI where you can plug into Google Chat, Google Docs, your Gmail, and that opens some really powerful opportunities where you can pull emails, read docs. I know Taylor, one of the members of the Gemini CLI team, he went on vacation for a couple of weeks, and he got brought back up to speed after being out for 2 weeks, purely from prompting Gemini CLI, hey, can you give me the top emails I need to respond to? What are some of the more important chats? Summarize different threads and chats. And that way you're not digging through hundreds of emails.
And this is such a common use case as well. In the GDE summit, that example came up from Googlers a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, how are you sharing those? Because you don't want everyone coming up with presumably their own skills or their own prompts to fetch me the 10 priority emails that I need to respond to, right? If everyone's doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit trying to get word of mouth. We do have the extensions gallery where you can kind of find extensions, but I do think part of the work is continuing to educate, putting out blogs, putting out content, really trying to just, one person sees it, they share it with, like you said, with a colleague, with a friend, kind of opening up those doors. It really is kind of once one person tries one of these tools once, they talk to a friend being like, hey, I tried this over the weekend. Yeah. You should try it too.
Yeah.
And then,
so
I think it's,
once you've tried it, there's no going back, right? It's the best thing ever.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess we're nearly out of time then. But any kind of closing thoughts about the agentic era that we're in now, Gemini CLI? What do you want to see happening next?
I think my final closing thoughts would just be to try out these tools and try out all the tools out there. I think there's so many developments across the board everywhere that really those who just try things out, get familiar with it, are the ones who will continue to benefit. There's new advancements every single week, I feel like, with new things coming out, that it's really just such a playground to start to let your creativity be unleashed. So my biggest tip would just be to install it, try it out, and see what's possible. If you have an idea, just go try to build something.
There's nothing you can't build now.
Yeah, it's pretty easy just to get something spun up and ideate.
Yeah, to add on to what you said, I think what I found very interesting is when I'm able to combine, let's say, if I'm in Gemini CLI, if I can combine several of these MCP servers together to do an overall workflow. So some of the examples I'm trying to understand a bit better is, what if I go to service A, get the data from there, funnel it to another MCP server, and the whole thing continues. So it just helps me solve a lot of interesting use cases for which probably I would have to write a lot of code previously.
Yeah.
So it's been a great time saver. Plus, I guess a glimpse that, okay, this is how it's going to work moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, again, bringing it back to the enterprise realm, more of a request for Google, actually. When you're in a very regulated environment, they often can't use preview models. And so you end up getting folks to use Gemini CLI, but they're having to use Gemini Pro 2.5. That's a year old now, right? And they're comparing Gemini Pro 2.5 to the likes of Claude Opus, and and it's not a fair fight because Opus is so much newer. But the folks that are then doing that comparison, they kind of, I think they draw the wrong conclusions about the power of Gemini models because they're using such an old one. And Gemini 3 and 3.1, it's been in preview for so long now. So Google folks out there, get these models into GA faster.
Send a message to the DeepMind team.
Yeah,
Logan, if you're watching this.
Yeah, get into GA faster, and then we can all collectively get these models into the enterprises where they belong. Yeah. Well, sure. I guess that's it. It's been amazing speaking to you guys. Fantastic talking to you guys face to face. Thanks for making the time to.
Thanks for having us, Darren. This has been a blast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.